The orbital station called Terminus 7 floated in the dark space between three star systems. It was a giant metal city, home to millions of beings from dozens of different worlds. Ships came and went every hour, carrying goods, travelers, and sometimes trouble. The lower levels of the station were crowded and noisy, filled with small shops and markets where aliens of all kinds bought and sold everything from food to weapons to medicine. Worked on level 47 in the cargo section near her brother's shop. She was 24 years old, small and thin, with black hair she kept tied back in a simple knot. Her clothes were plain work clothes, dirty from moving boxes all day. Nobody looked at her twice. She was just another human doing a simple job. That was exactly how she wanted it. Her brother ran a supply shop nearby. He sold tools, replacement parts, and emergency supplies to travelers and workers. He was a kind man, 7 years older than, with a gentle smile and a talent for making friends with anyone. His shop was small but clean, and he treated every customer with respect, whether they were human or alien. It was a normal afternoon when everything changed. Was carrying a heavy box toward the storage area when she heard shouting from shop. She put down the box and listened. The voice was deep and rough, speaking in the common trade language that everyone on the station used. "You pay now, human. Every shop pays. This is how things work here." Walked quickly toward the shop. When she reached the entrance, she saw what she had feared. A warrior stood in the middle of her brother's shop. He was enormous, over 8 feet tall, with thick scaled skin the color of dark stone. He had 4 arms, each one as thick as his entire body. His name was, and everyone in the lower levels knew him. He was a bully who took money from shop owners and beat anyone who refused. Station security did nothing because had powerful friends, and because most people were too afraid to report him. Stood behind his counter trying to stay calm. Around him, several shelves had been knocked over. Merchandise lay broken on the floor. "I already paid the station fees," said, keeping his voice steady. "I do not have extra money to give you." Laughed. It was an ugly sound. He reached out with one of his 4 arms and swept more items off a shelf. They crashed to the floor. "Then I take payment in other ways," said. "Maybe I break more things. Maybe I break you." Several other aliens had gathered near the shop entrance, watching. Some looked worried. Others looked entertained. None of them moved to help. This was normal on the lower levels. You did not interfere with warriors unless you wanted to die. Stepped into the shop. "Leave him alone," she said. Her voice was quiet but clear. Everyone heard it. The watching crowd went silent. Turned slowly. When he saw, his eyes widened with surprise. Then he started laughing again, louder this time. "What is this?" he said. "A tiny human female, you speak to me." I said leave him alone. His voice did not change. She stood perfectly still, her hands at her sides. His face went pale. "No, please just go back to work. I can handle this." But did not move. She kept her eyes on. The warrior walked toward her. Each step made the floor shake slightly. He stopped just a few feet away, looking down at her like she was an insect. "You are brave for such a small creature," said. "Or maybe you are stupid. I cannot tell with humans." "I am not afraid of you," said simply. Something changed in his expression. His 4 hands clenched into fists. Among his people, fear was everything. To have someone show no fear, especially someone so small and weak, was an insult he could not ignore. "Then I will teach you fear," he said. "I challenge you, human, a formal duel here. Now, by law, I have the right." The watching crowd gasped. A formal challenge was serious. Under station law, once a challenge was accepted, no one could interfere. The duel would continue until one person surrendered, lost consciousness, or died. Duels almost always ended in death. Rushed forward. "No, she did not mean to insult you. She is just my foolish younger sister. Please take what you want from my shop. Take everything, just leave her alone." Ignored him completely. His dark eyes stayed fixed on. Well, human, do you accept, or do you run away like the weak little prey animal you are? The crowd waited. Everyone expected to apologize, to beg, to do anything to escape this situation. Humans were known throughout the galaxy as weak creatures. They were smart, yes, good with machines and computers, but in a physical fight against impossible, suicide. Took a slow breath. When she spoke, her voice was still calm, still quiet. I accept your challenge. The silence that followed was complete, even seemed surprised for a moment. Then he smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Foolish, he said, but entertaining. We fight in 1 hour. The Central Plaza, level 47. All will watch the little human die. He turned and walked out of the shop, his heavy footsteps fading down the corridor. His laughter echoed back to them. Grabbed shoulders, his hands were shaking. What have you done? He said. What have you done? You cannot fight him. Nobody can fight him. He has killed 14 people in these duels. 14. Gently removed his hands from her shoulders. I know, she said. Then why did you accept? You can still withdraw. Yes, you would be banned from the station, but at least you would be alive. Shook her head. If I run, he will take everything from you. He will hurt you to punish me for insulting him. I have seen his kind before. Running makes things worse, not better. Then what? You plan to die fighting him. For the first time, something like emotion crossed face. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was something harder to name, something cold. Brother, she said softly, there are things about me you do not know, things I never told you because I wanted to forget them. Stared at her. What are you talking about? Before I came to this station, before I became a cargo worker, I was something else. She paused. I was an instructor for the Earth Defense Forces. I taught soldiers how to fight, how to survive against enemies bigger and stronger than them. His mouth opened, but no words came out. I left that life because I was tired of violence, continued. I wanted peace, a simple life, but some things cannot be forgotten. Some skills stay with you even when you wish they would not. She turned toward the door. Wait here, brother, fix your shop. In 1 hour this will be over. His voice cracked. What if you are wrong? What if he kills you? She stopped at the doorway and looked back at him. Then at least I died standing, not kneeling. She walked out into the corridor. Behind her, the crowd parted silently to let her pass. They looked at her with different eyes now. Not pity, not amusement, something else, something like confusion. They still thought she would die. Of course she would die. She was a human, a small human woman against a warrior. But something in the way she walked made them uncertain. Just a little uncertain. And that was the beginning. News traveled fast on Terminus 7. Within minutes, everyone on the lower levels knew what had happened. A human woman had accepted a challenge. The fight would happen in the Central Plaza in less than 1 hour. People stopped their work and began moving toward the plaza, eager to watch. Some felt sorry for the human. Most just wanted to see something exciting. In the security office on level 45, a man named Minu slammed his hand on his desk. What do you mean I cannot stop it? He shouted at the screen in front of him. The station administrator's face looked back at him without expression. A formal challenge was issued and accepted. Station law is clear. We cannot interfere. She will be killed. That is likely, yes. But the law exists for a reason. If we break it for one case, we must break it for all cases. They would consider it an act of war. Minu wanted to argue more, but he knew it was useless. He ended the call and stood up quickly. He had known, and for years. Their parents had been friends with his parents back on Earth. He had watched grow up. He could not let her die without at least trying to help. He grabbed his jacket and ran out of the office. Meanwhile, in a quiet room on level 60, an old named elder sat alone, thinking. He had heard the news like everyone else. But unlike everyone else, he was not excited or amused. He was worried. Was a diplomat, not a warrior. He had spent 40 years studying other species, learning their histories and cultures. He had read more books than most would read in 10 lifetimes, and something about this situation bothered him. He walked to his computer terminal and began searching through old records, reports from decades ago, classified documents from the early years of contact between the Empire and the humans of Earth. What he found made his scales turn pale. The reports were incomplete, many of them damaged or deliberately hidden, but the pattern was clear. In the early contact period, there had been several incidents where humans had faced warriors in combat. Single combat, like what was about to happen on level 47. The humans had won. Not all of them, not every time, but far more often than should have been possible. Small humans, weak humans, humans with no natural weapons or armor. They had defeated warriors who were twice their size and 4 times as strong. The reports did not explain how. They only noted that the High Council had classified all information about human combat abilities and quietly removed humans from the list of species that could be formally challenged. But that order had been given 60 years ago, was young. He did not know, most did not know anymore. Stood up quickly, he had to warn. The foolish young warrior had no idea what he had done. Back on level 47, Minyu found in a small storage room near the plaza. She was sitting alone on a metal crate, her eyes closed, breathing slowly and deeply. Minyu said, breathing hard from running, "You have to withdraw, please, I am begging you." Opened her eyes. "Hello, Minyu, it has been a while." "Did you hear me? You have to withdraw." "I cannot." "Yes, you can. Under custom, you can withdraw at any time before the fight begins. You will be exiled from the station, but you will be alive. I can help you find a new place to live. I have contacts on other stations." Shook her head slowly. "If I run, will hurt to punish me. That is how his kind thinks. I cannot let that happen." "Then let me fight him instead. I will take your place." "You would die." "Maybe, but at least." Minyu's voice was gentle but firm. "I am not going to die." Minyu stared at her. There was something in her eyes he had never seen before, a coldness, a certainty. "What are you not telling me?" he asked. Was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Do you know why humans survived first contact with hostile alien species?" Minyu blinked at the sudden change of subject. No, I mean we had technology, ships, weapons." "We had those things, yes, but other species had better technology, better ships, better weapons, and still we survived. Do you know why?" "No." "Because we learned," stood up slowly. "When we met species stronger than us, we did not try to become stronger. We studied them instead. We found their weaknesses. Every species has weaknesses, Minyu, places where their armor is thin, joints that bend the wrong way, nerves that are too close to the surface, things they never protect because no enemy has ever thought to attack there." She stretched her arms slowly, rolling her shoulders. "The Earth Defense Forces spent decades developing combat systems for fighting alien species. I spent 6 years learning those systems. I spent 4 more years teaching them to others." She looked at Minyu. "I know exactly how to kill a warrior. I have taught others how to do it. I have done it myself twice during the border conflicts." Minyu felt cold despite the warm air of the station. You have killed before." "I did not enjoy it. I left that life because I wanted to forget it. But some things you cannot forget, no matter how hard you try." Before Minyu could respond, the door opened. A young girl stepped inside, carrying a small package. She was about 12 years old, thin and pale, with large, serious eyes. Her name was, and she worked in the market selling small items for her family. "Miss," said quietly, "I brought you some food. I thought you might be hungry before the fight." His cold expression softened immediately. She knelt down to be at eye level with the girl. "Thank you, that is very kind of you." She took the package and opened it. Inside was a simple meal of rice and vegetables, still warm. "I made it myself," said. "My mother helped a little." "It looks delicious," smiled, and for a moment she looked like a completely different person. Warm, gentle, human. Fidgeted nervously. "Miss, are you really going to fight that big alien?" "Yes." "Are you scared?" Thought about the question. "A little," she admitted. "But being scared does not mean I cannot fight. Sometimes being scared helps you fight better." Nodded slowly, though she did not fully understand. "I want to watch. I want to cheer for you." Smile faded. She put her hands on shoulders. "I want you to promise me something," she said. "Do not watch the fight. Go home and stay with your mother until it is over. But I want to see you win." "What is going to happen in that plaza?" Paused, choosing her words carefully. "It will not be something good to see. It will not be something to cheer about. I am going to hurt someone very badly. Even if that person deserves it, hurting people is never something to celebrate." His eyes were wide. "You really think you can win?" "Yes, but winning does not always feel good. Sometimes it just feels necessary." She hugged the girl gently. "Go home, little one. I will come find you after it is over, I promise." Hesitated, then nodded. She gave one last look before running out of the room. Minyu watched her go, then he turned back too. "You really think you can beat him?" Finished eating the meal had brought, she set down the empty container and stood. "I do not think," she said. "I know." She walked past him toward the door. At the entrance she paused. "If something goes wrong," she said without turning around, "take care of my brother. Take care of, get them off this station and somewhere safe." "They promise me." Minyu swallowed hard. "I promise." She nodded once and walked out toward the plaza. The crowd was already gathering. Thousands of beings from dozens of species, all pushing and shoving to get a good view. They had come to watch a small human woman die. None of them knew they were about to see something very different. In the crowd, Elder pushed forward desperately. He had to reach. He had to warn him. But there were too many people and he was old and slow. The fight would begin any moment. He was too late. The central plaza of level 47 was the largest open space on the lower decks. It was usually filled with market stalls and crowds of shoppers, but today everything had been pushed aside to create a wide circle in the middle. Thousands of beings stood around this circle, packed so tightly they could barely move. More watched from balconies above. Screens throughout the station showed the scene to those who could not attend in person. In the center of the circle performed a traditional display of power. He roared at the sky, the sound so loud it hurt the ears of those standing closest. He flexed all four of his massive arms, each one rippling with muscle beneath his stone-colored scales. He slammed his fists into the metal floor, leaving dents in the surface. The crowd gasped and cheered. This was entertainment to them, a show before the main event. Had removed his upper armor, showing the thick natural plating that covered his chest and shoulders. This was a sign of confidence. He was telling everyone that he did not need protection against such a weak opponent. On the opposite side of the circle, stepped forward. She looked impossibly small compared to the alien warrior. She still wore her simple work clothes. She had no armor, no weapons, nothing but her bare hands. Her face was completely calm, showing no fear, no anger, no emotion at all. The crowd fell silent as she walked to the center of the circle and stopped about 20 feet from. A station official stepped forward to announce the rules. His voice shook slightly as he spoke. "This is a formal challenge under law. The fight continues until one participant surrenders, is unable to continue, or dies. No weapons are permitted. No interference from outside is permitted. Do both participants understand?" "I understand," growled. "This will be quick." Simply nodded. The official swallowed hard and stepped back quickly. "Begin." Did not wait. He charged forward immediately, moving faster than something his size should be able to move. His four arms reached out to grab, to crush, to tear. His feet pounded the floor like thunder. Did not move. The crowd held their breath. Some looked away, unable to watch. At the last possible moment, stepped to the side. It was such a small movement that many people missed it. She shifted her body just a few inches, letting his charge pass her by. As he went past, her hand shot out and struck a spot beneath his second arm. The hit looked soft, gentle even, like she was tapping him to get his attention. Stumbled, his second arm dropped to his side and hung there, limp and useless. He spun around, confusion on his face. He tried to lift his arm and could not. What, he started to say, was already moving. She came at him low, ducking under his remaining arms. Her fist hit another spot, this time under his third arm. Another soft-looking strike that somehow made his arm go dead. Swung his two remaining arms wildly, trying to catch her. She was not there. She moved like water, flowing around his attacks without ever seeming to rush. Every time he reached for her, she was somewhere else. The crowd was completely silent now. Nobody understood what they were seeing. Struck again, her fingers jabbing into a spot on his neck. He made a choking sound and staggered backward. She followed, staying close, giving him no time to recover. "Do you feel that?" she asked, her voice quiet and calm. "That is your nerve cluster starting to shut down. You have about 30 seconds before you lose control of your legs." "Impossible," gasped. "No species knows our nerve points. No species." "Humans know," circled around him slowly. "We have known for 60 years. Your empire tried to hide the information, but we found it anyway. We always find what we are looking for." Let out a roar of rage and charged again, using only his first arm now, the only one that still worked. He was slower this time, clumsier. Fear had replaced his confidence. Did not dodge this time. Instead, she moved forward directly into his attack. What she did next was too fast for most eyes to follow. She grabbed his reaching arm, stepped to the side, and twisted. There was a horrible popping sound as his shoulder rotated in a way it was never meant to rotate, screamed in pain and fell to his knees. Released his arm and stepped back. The mighty warrior knelt on the ground, all four arms hanging uselessly at his sides. He tried to stand and could not. His legs would not obey him anymore, just as had promised. He looked up at her with wide eyes. For the first time, there was real fear on his face. "What are you?" he whispered. "I am human," said simply. "That is all." She walked around him slowly, looking down at him like he was a problem she was still deciding how to solve. "Your species has 47 nerve clusters that control muscle function," she said. "Your natural armor protects most of them, but not the ones under your secondary arms. Those are exposed because no species has ever thought to attack there. Until us." She stopped in front of him. "Your shoulders have a rotation limit of 140 degrees. More than that, and the joint fails. Your people never guard against joint attacks because your joints are usually stronger than your opponent's entire body. But strength does not matter if you know exactly where to apply force." Tried to speak, but only a croak came out. "Your nerve cluster in the neck controls signals to your lower body. One precise strike and your legs become useless. Another strike, slightly higher, and your lungs stop working. A third strike, just a centimeter to the left, stops your heart." The crowd was so quiet that its calm voice echoed across the entire plaza. "I have not killed you yet," she continued. "But I can. Easily. You are completely helpless. Do you understand that? The great warrior, the killer of 14 opponents, is now kneeling before a small human woman, unable to move, unable to fight, unable to do anything but wait for death." She crouched down so her face was level with his. "This is what we do," she said, her voice barely above a whisper now but somehow still carrying to every corner of the plaza. "This is what humans have always done. We do not fight strength with strength. We find weaknesses. We exploit them. Every species has weaknesses. We have spent centuries learning what they are. She stood up and looked out at the crowd. Humans and aliens alike stared back at her with expressions of shock and disbelief. "Let this be a lesson," she said loudly, "to anyone who thinks humans are weak, to anyone who thinks we are easy prey. We are not." She looked back down at. "Now do you surrender?" Scales had gone pale. His breathing was fast and shallow. He was experiencing something no warrior ever expected to experience. Complete and total defeat. His voice cracked, "I surrender." The words hung in the air. A warrior surrendering to a human. It had never happened before. Many in the crowd did not believe it was real. Nodded slowly. "The fight is over," she announced. "I claim victory." The station official stumbled forward, his face pale. The fight is concluded. The human is the winner." Nobody cheered. Nobody spoke. The crowd simply stared at the impossible scene before them. Stood motionless in the center of the plaza, surrounded by thousands of beings who were only now beginning to understand what they had witnessed. Everything they thought they knew about humans had just been proven wrong. The plaza remained frozen in silence, knelt in the center, broken and helpless, waiting for what came next. By law, had the right to kill him now. More than the right, it was expected. A defeated enemy was supposed to die. That was how duels ended. That was how they had always ended. Stood over him, looking down with an expression that was impossible to read. From somewhere in the crowd, Elder pushed his way forward. He was breathing heavily from the effort, his old scales pale with exhaustion. "Wait," he called out. "I request the right to speak before the conclusion." Turned to look at him. She said nothing, but she did not stop him either. Under station law, any witness to a formal duel could request to offer context before the final blow. It was rarely used, but it was legal. The crowd parted to let through. The old diplomat walked slowly to the center of the plaza. He did not look at. Instead, he faced the crowd, turning slowly so everyone could see him. "I am Elder of the Diplomatic Corps," he said, his voice carrying across the silent plaza. "I have served my people for 40 years. I have studied hundreds of species from across the galaxy. And today, I must tell you something that my own government has tried to hide for 60 years. He paused, gathering his thoughts. "When the Empire first made contact with humans, we made the same mistake that made today. We looked at them and saw small, weak creatures with no natural weapons. No claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. We saw soft skin that could be cut by a child's training blade. We saw slow reflexes and limited strength. We saw prey." Shook his head slowly. "We were wrong." He began to walk around the plaza as he spoke, making eye contact with beings of various species. In the early years of contact, there were incidents, conflicts, nothing official, nothing that became a war, but there were fights. Warriors challenged humans just as did today. They expected easy victories. His voice grew quieter, but somehow more intense. They did not get easy victories. They got what got: defeat, humiliation, death. The crowd stirred uneasily. The High Council was so disturbed by these events that they classified all information about human combat abilities. They removed humans from the list of species that could be formally challenged. They told no one why. They hoped the information would be forgotten. He stopped walking and stood still. "But I am old. I have access to archives that younger do not know exist, and what I found in those archives terrified me." He looked out at the crowd, his gaze moving from face to face. "Let me tell you about humans," he said. "Let me tell you what they really are." He raised one claw and pointed at. "That small woman defeated a warrior in less than 2 minutes. She did it without weapons. She did it without taking a single hit. And she did it because humans do not fight the way we fight. They do not try to be stronger or faster or tougher. Instead, they study. They learn. They find weaknesses that no one else thinks to look for. His voice rose. Humans are what they call persistence predators. On there, they did not hunt by being the fastest or the strongest. They hunted by following their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They would chase an animal for hours, sometimes for days, never giving up, never stopping. The animal would run and run until its body simply could not run anymore, and then the humans would catch it. He let that sink in. This is how humans think. They do not give up. They do not stop. If they cannot beat you with strength, they will find another way. If one approach fails, they will try another, and another, and another, until they succeed. He pointed at again. That warrior thought he was hunting prey. He did not understand that he was the prey. From the moment the challenge was accepted, the human was not running from him. She was studying him, learning his movements, finding his weaknesses. By the time the fight began, she already knew exactly how she would win. An alien in the crowd called out, "But she is just one human, one trained fighter. That does not mean all humans are dangerous." Turned to face the speaker. "Does it not? Let me ask you something. How many humans are on this station? Thousands, tens of thousands. You see them every day, working in shops, moving cargo, fixing machines. They seem harmless, ordinary, weak." He paused. "But how many of them have training you do not know about? How many of them are former soldiers, former fighters, former killers who chose to live peaceful lives? You cannot tell by looking at them. They all look the same to us. Small, soft, fragile." He gestured at. She looked small and soft and fragile too, until she broke a warrior without even breathing hard. The crowd was absolutely still now. The aliens who had come to watch entertainment were now listening with growing fear. "This is why the High Council classified the information," continued. "Not to protect humans, to protect us, to protect everyone. Because if species across the galaxy knew what humans were truly capable of, they would either try to destroy them out of fear or they would provoke them into war, and a war with humanity." He shook his head. "Humanity has been in space for less than 300 years. In that time, they have spread to hundreds of worlds. They have built fleets that rival species twice their age. They have developed technologies that we still do not understand. And they did all of this while being seen as weak, as inferior as prey." He turned to look at directly. "Imagine what they could do if they stopped hiding. Imagine what they could do if they decided to stop being peaceful." Met his gaze but said nothing. Turned back to the crowd. "I tell you this not to frighten you. I tell you this so that you understand. What happened here today was not a strange accident. It was not luck. It was the result of centuries of human development, human strategy, human determination to survive in a galaxy that underestimated them." He looked down at, still kneeling helplessly on the ground. This warrior challenged a human to single combat because he thought she was weak. Because everyone thinks humans are weak. That assumption is wrong. That assumption has always been wrong. And now, thanks to his foolishness, everyone who witnessed today will know the truth. He bowed his head. "I have said what I came to say. The conclusion of this duel is in the human's hands." He stepped back, leaving alone in the center of the circle once more. The crowd waited, waited. Everyone expected to see death. Looked down at the broken warrior before her. She thought about all the people he had hurt, all the merchants he had robbed, all the beings he had killed in previous duels. By any standard, he deserved to die. But she also thought about the person she had tried to become after leaving her old life behind. She thought about what kind of example she wanted to set. "Get up," she said quietly. Looked at her with confusion. I cannot, my legs." "The paralysis is temporary. You will be able to move again in a few hours." She stepped back. "When you can walk, leave this station. Never come back. If I ever see you again, I will kill you. Do you understand?" stared at her in disbelief. You are letting me live." "Yes." "Why?" Was silent for a long moment. "Because killing you would be easy," she said finally, "and I am tired of doing easy things." She turned and walked away. The crowd parted before her like water. Behind her, Elder watched her go with something like wonder in his old eyes. The station never returned to normal after that day. In the hours following the duel, arguments broke out across level 47 and beyond. Some aliens were angry that had not killed. Under law, showing mercy to a defeated enemy was considered weakness. Some demanded that be punished for the insult, even though she had won fairly. But their voices grew quieter as time passed, because something else was happening, something no one had expected. The bullies were disappearing. Not dying, not being killed, but simply leaving, was the first. He was carried off the station by his own people as soon as he could be moved, his reputation destroyed forever. But others followed. The criminals who had terrorized the lower levels for years began packing their belongings and booking passage to other stations. The protection rackets collapsed almost overnight. Nobody gave an order, nobody organized anything, it just happened. Because nobody knew anymore. That quiet human who worked in the machine shop, was she a former soldier too? That thin human man who sold food in the market? Did he know how to kill with his bare hands? That human child playing in the corridors? Would she grow up to be like? The answer was probably no. Most humans on the station were exactly what they appeared to be: workers, merchants, families, ordinary people living ordinary lives. But the bullies and criminals did not know that. They could not tell the dangerous humans from the harmless ones, and so they left, rather than take the risk. 1 week after the duel, stood in his shop, looking around at the repaired shelves and new merchandise. Business had never been better. Aliens came from all over the station to buy from him, not because his goods were special, but because he was the warrior's brother. He still did not quite believe what had happened. His quiet little sister, the woman who had spent years doing simple cargo work, had defeated a warrior in front of thousands of witnesses. He had watched the recording dozens of times, and it still seemed impossible. He was arranging items on a shelf when the door opened, and Minyu walked in. "How is she?" asked immediately. Minyu sighed. "The same as yesterday, the same as the day before. She goes to work, she comes home, she barely speaks to anyone. I think she is processing." Nodded sadly. She never wanted this. She came here to escape violence, and violence found her anyway. "I know," Minyu leaned against the counter, "but what she did, I think it changed things, really changed them. Have you noticed how different the station feels now? I have noticed that nobody threatens me anymore." "It is more than that." Minyu looked out the shop window at the busy corridor outside. "The humans on this station walk differently now. They stand, they look people in the eye, they are not afraid anymore. And the aliens, they are more careful, more polite. It is like the whole balance of power shifted." Thought about this, because of one fight. Because of what the fight meant. Because everyone learned something they did not know before. Minyu smiled slightly. "Your sister did not just win a duel. She changed how the entire galaxy sees our species." On level 52, in a quiet observation deck that overlooked the ship docking area, sat alone in the darkness. She watched the ships come and go, their lights blinking against the black emptiness of space. She had been coming here every night since the duel. It was peaceful, quiet, a place where no one bothered her and she could think. The door behind her opened and closed. Small footsteps approached. Did not turn around. "Hello." The girl walked up and stood beside her. "How did you know it was me?" "Your footsteps, light and quick but hesitant, like you are not sure if you are welcome." Climbed onto the bench and sat next to. "You said you would come find me, after the fight, but you did not." Was quiet for a moment. "I am sorry. I have not been very good company lately. Are you sad? No, not exactly. Tried to find the right words. I am thinking about things. About the fight. About what comes after the fight. About what it all means. Was quiet for a while, watching the ships with. Finally she asked, "Why did you let him live?" It was the question everyone asked. The question had been asking herself. When I was young, said slowly, I thought strength meant being able to hurt people. The stronger you were, the more damage you could do. That is what they taught us in the military. That is what I believed for a long time. She watched a cargo ship slowly drift toward one of the docking bays. But I do not believe that anymore. Hurting people is easy. Any fool can learn to hurt people. Real strength is different. Real strength is choosing not to hurt someone even when you could, even when they deserve it. She looked at. I let him live because killing him would have been the easy choice. It would have felt good in the moment, but it would not have made anything better. It would not have undone the harm he caused. It would not have brought back the people he killed. Then why did you fight him at all? To protect my brother, to show that humans are not weak, to make bullies think twice before threatening people like your family. Paused. I fought because fighting was necessary. I showed mercy because killing was not. Thought about this. So, being strong means knowing when not to use your strength. Smiled slightly. It was the first time she had smiled since the duel. Something like that. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the ships. After a while, spoke again. The kids at school all want to learn to fight like you now. They keep asking me if you can teach them. Almost laughed. I hope you told them no. I told them you were busy, hesitated, but could you teach people, not to hurt people, just to not be afraid? Considered the question seriously. She had spent years running from her past, trying to forget the skills she had learned, trying to be someone ordinary. But maybe ordinary was not what she was meant to be. Maybe someday, she said, when I am ready. Nodded and leaned against the shoulder. Together, they watched the lights of the ships against the endless dark of space. Thousands of light years away, on the elder sat before the High Council. He had just finished his report about the incident on Terminus 7. The council members sat in stunned silence. Finally, the eldest counselor spoke. You are recommending that we officially reclassify humans as an apex predator species. I am, said. The classification of humans as a lesser species was always a mistake. It was based on physical appearance, not actual capability. We have ignored the evidence for 60 years because it was easier than admitting we were wrong. But if we change the classification, our warriors will stop challenging humans to combat. Our merchants will treat humans as equals. Our diplomats will approach human governments with appropriate respect. Leaned forward. And we will avoid repeating the humiliation that suffered, broadcast across dozens of systems for everyone to see. The council members exchanged glances. The vote will be held tomorrow, the eldest counselor said finally. But I suspect you will get what you want, elder. Bowed his head. I hope so for all our sakes. Back on Terminus 7 and still sat on the observation deck. The station had grown quiet as the night cycle began. Most of the lights in the corridors had dimmed. Miss asked sleepily, do you think there will be more fights, more aliens who want to challenge humans? Thought about it. Maybe, probably. There are always people who think violence is the answer. That sounds tiring. It is. Looked down at the girl leaning against her shoulder. But that is why we keep going. That is what humans do. We keep going no matter what. We adapt. We survive. We find ways to protect the people we care about. Yawned. That sounds nice. Within minutes, the girl was asleep. Sat motionless, not wanting to wake her. She looked out at the stars, thinking about the future. There would be challenges ahead. There always were. But for now, in this quiet moment, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. Peace. Not the peace of hiding or running away. Not the peace of pretending to be something she was not, but the peace of knowing exactly who she was and what she was capable of. She was human, that was all. And that was enough. The ships continued to come and go, their lights blinking in the darkness. Somewhere out there, among the millions of beings who had watched the duel, minds were changing. Assumptions were being questioned. The truth about humanity was spreading, one conversation at a time. It had started with a single challenge and a single fight. It would end with something far greater. The galaxy was learning what humans really were. And they would never forget.